Well, hi there, YouTube, and what a big surprise, huh? Hope everybody's doing well. Let's make our way over to the control console where the mission controllers are dealing with the Twitch stream, and that's just about ready to rumble. So I'll tell you all about what we got done here. Hang on, they're on their last synth chords, and there's that, and we'll start a recording, and we'll do that, and then we'll do. Hi everybody, welcome to the Stratosphere Studio, brought to you on the fabulous set of Story Mechanics, shot here in beautiful downtown Burbank in front of a live audience of it's not your, do not adjust your sets, the color is doing a thing for reasons I'm not able to explain, but in any event, we'll get that taken care of next time. We actually did it, we swore we'd do it, we threatened we'd do it. And then we actually did it. We shot the first of the Story Mechanics episodes today. With thank you very much for the nice comments. So we did we did 2.5 hours with Mike Rowe. And Bill always touches his nose right before he starts. Does he really? I didn't know that. That's a tick, the giveaway. I didn't know anything about. So it was great. We did 2.5 hours. Got a real long segment about storytelling. Got another segment about the common man as an archetype. We did a sort of behind the scenes thing for members only. Talked a little politics for a while, and during which Mike Rowe made a genuinely shocking revelation. Really blew me away. And then we did that. And then as somebody's ahead of me here, John Pershing's ahead of me on this. And then as a gift to Mike, who is adored by millions, we presented him with, on behalf of the members of BillWhittle.com, this absolutely fabulous gold wrench set. Pick up some. There we go. Ooh. Gold-plated wrench set, and he was very touched by that. And that's on behalf of all of our members at BillWhittle.com. Again, sorry about the color pulsing. I think we're going to use a different webcam next time. I don't know why it's flaring like that, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, thanks for the background. The thing that's so ironic here is that this entire background idea. This entire set idea was to give you the sense of like real space, and not. I mean, obviously, I could have done this in front of a green screen and just sort of chroma keyed myself in there, but I wanted some real space back there, and then I was going to put the Mike Rowe cardboard cutout in, and no matter where I put him, it just didn't work. I'll show you. Here, watch. We're going to do some Dr. Tongue's 3D house of cats now, and I'll show you what I mean. Ooh, 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 ooh. I thought I'd put him back here someplace, or maybe I'd kind of put him off to the side here, or maybe I could kind of, get him in there like that, that kind of thing. And it just couldn't get it to work. Could not. So I think the idea, although I have to tell you, it looks better there than it did anywhere else that I've accidentally put it after much work. He's a little bit high, he's a little bit big. But we'll leave him there for the time being. And so it was a lot of fun. We really had a genuinely good time. Bill looks like he's auditioning for the new mascot for the Washington Redskins. Should we tell him? Aren't they the Washington Redskins again? No more cardboard cutouts. Yeah, that's one of those cases of. He actually looks good there. I wish if I'd thought to put him right exactly where he is now, if you were 25% smaller, I might have kept it. So anyway, I'm going to keep this space open, and I like it. The Washington Caucasians, yeah, baby, exactly. So wobbly chair and yeah, all kinds of things. Oh, the headrest is off of that, yes. So you get the idea. I'm going to keep this relatively short today because I am bone tired. I probably got 3 hours of sleep last night. It was just a lot of adrenaline. I was here till about 1 o'clock in the morning, I guess, trying to make some sense out of this set and get that thing hanging the way I like it. But to be honest with you, I really do like the way this looks, and we did it with Riverside, so we got the high resolution stuff downloaded, and Riverside, man, is amazing software. For those of you not familiar with it, the way it works is it records a relatively low, kind of a Skype quality conversation between the two of us, but it's also constantly uploading high quality video. It's recording was recording to Mike's own hard drive and to my own hard drive, and then it's constantly uploading that stuff, and then it gives me two different high resolution files, and the sync is perfect, and it's just great. So I'd thought about doing like a fancy, story mechanics, graphics and stuff, and I just realized, no, have you learned nothing? Have you really learned nothing, Bill? It's all about authenticity. So when will the show be posted? It won't be next week, but it might be the week after that. There's a lot of editing. We did about 2.5 hours. As I said, we spun out a segment on storytelling, and that was almost 90 minutes. We'll get a real solid 40 minutes out of that, 30 to 40 minutes out of that. And then we did another, 45 minutes, I guess, on the archetype of the common man. How that's a very American archetype. The idea that virtue is vested in the common man, and not in the aristocracy or the warrior caste or whatever the hell you want to call it. So yeah. Hey, look at that. There's a super chat from Breck Nichols, saying, greetings from Dallas, Texas. Gold-plated wrench set. You are out of your mind. Here's my contribution. Thank you very much, Breck. And Mike was genuinely touched by all of that. So thanks especially to the members at BillWhittle.com who made that possible. We've got Gary Sinise on tap. We got Johnny Voight on tap. I haven't talked with James Woods, but I think there's a good chance to get James Woods. And I haven't talked with Dave Zucker, but I think there's a good chance to get Dave Zucker as well as all the other ones we've already mentioned. So we really, get to do all that. Yes, Don Vickery says, do mid-level subscribers still get the video from camera on to camera off? Yes, BillWhittle.com members will be able to get two things that non-members won't get. First of all, they get the members-only segment on politics, because I've been trying to keep, this separate, or at least not overtly political. So we did 3 segments. The third one was just us talking politics, and I just said, can you believe what you're seeing here? I mean, can you believe it? So that was a lot of fun. And then yes, I also said and we'll keep the promise that that members will also get the ability to see it from the camera goes on to the camera goes off. So that's 2.5 hour kind of stuff, but lots of just lots of fun back stuff. It give you a good chance to see how the editing works too, because I was looking back on the shoot after it was over, and I thought, wow, that was a fun 2 hours. But in that 2 hours, there's a killer hours worth of material, So yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's just I mean, I've been talking about doing this thing for over a year. Which, if you had told me this when I first came up with the idea, would have laughed you out of the room. But I really wanted to get it right, and we had to get everybody scheduled and get them, just anything. You get the idea. I crammed a spectacular hour of material into 2 hours. No. Funny, it's because Mike mentioned this too, by the way. He was talking about storytelling and finding the angle on things, and he talked about the famous example of Michelangelo when he was sculpting the statue of David, and he was apparently asked, how do you do this? And Michelangelo basically said, I walk up to this gigantic block of marble and I chip away everything that's not David. That he sees the figure inside the stone and takes away everything that that isn't David. So that's basically what the art of video editing is taking, well, in the case of the storytelling beat, is taking 80 minutes of video and making 26 minutes of it, or 22 minutes of it, something like that, feel like a normal, regular conversation without any pause, and you won't see any of the edits. But if you want to see the whole thing, it's all there for you too. So that was cool. Yeah, Steve Young says, now that we really see it, that background really is black. That is a super black background. And we got lights directly on that thing, and it just disappears. It's gone. Stephen Collins wants to know, how do we watch it? Well, as we've said before, Story Mechanics, and actually I've got a question. It's fun to be able to have a two-way interaction here with our Strato crowd, which has given me so many great answers and specific answers and tremendous wisdom in the past. So let me get to that in a second. But here's how it's going to work, Steve. Just to use a specific example from what we just shot earlier today, the segment on storytelling will be available to everybody. The segment on the common man as a storytelling archetype will be available for everybody. The political segment will be for members only, and the unedited soup to nuts version is also for members only. It's nice to be able to do something for our members, and that's nice too because it means we can put the political stuff behind the firewall, and it allows us to keep the Story Mechanics show, virtually apolitical, because frankly, it's political by nature because storytelling is, essentially conservative, and we talked about that a little bit too. And then, so this is my question. It's a serious one, and I'd really like to hear both sides of the argument in the comment section, kind of in real time here. I have a real quandary here, and I went one way, then I went another way. Now I'm kind of thinking about going back the first way again, and so on. So here's the question: do I make this a separate YouTube channel, or is it just a separate playlist and a separate series of content on BillWhittle.com? There's arguments for both. If BillWhittle.com has a suppression algorithm on it, then that would argue for doing a brand new channel with, completely different contact email, different bank account, and all the rest of it. And it would also, having its own channel, its own YouTube channel, would be, we'd pick up some people who may not have the taste for all of the right-wing Nazi stuff that we're constantly, spouting here on Bill Whittle channel on YouTube and so on. Then on the other hand, if we put it on a separate channel, you have to basically get that channel up off the ground from scratch, which is not a terribly big deal. But see, here's the thing. I could take Story Mechanics, make it a different YouTube channel, and then I could monetize that by channel memberships, but the bread and butter of the organization is BillWhittle.com memberships, which is what's got me going back to keeping it on the Bill Whittle channel and keeping everything in one house, keeping it on the same website. I mean, look, there's something to be said for not something to be said for not doing overtly political stuff. But on the other hand, I can't very well, hide from who I am, nor do I want to. So it's not like it's going to be a big secret. Ken B says, programmer talking, create 10 new channels and just link to it from your main. Huh. It's an interesting thought. So I don't know. What do you guys think? So the two choices are, we just run it as content on BillWhittle.com and on the Bill Whittle channel here, which already has an established base. And then the other alternative is we could set up our own separate channel for that. Eric says you could put the Story Mechanics on the Stratosphere Studio channel, but that's triple branding now. I am kind of inclined. I'm kind of inclined to want to keep them together, to concentrate and not split the viewership. I guess what I'm trying to say is, the more I think about it, the more I realize I don't think there's going to be lots of viewers who are going to be coming to Story Mechanics and not figuring out who I am. Now, Beefire says, make a fresh channel and a bunch of shorts for exposure. Now, that's obviously something else I can do. I can cut, and I plan to cut a number of sound bites and shorts out of this. So, I honestly ping pong back and forth on this almost every few minutes. At the beginning of this conversation, I wanted to keep it all on Bill Whittle channel. Now I'm kind of feeling like, no, I should have it separate. Split the streams, yeah. On the other hand, Sadwing says Bill Whittle's doing the interviews, belongs on his channel. Yeah, I mean I think the thing that's going to decide it will probably be the fact that the entire, well, not the reason for doing it, but the benefit, the main business benefit for doing it is to drive members at BillWhittle.com. Benjamin Good says Rumble. We're on Rumble. We'll get to Rumble. Never make a decision on 3 hours of sleep. Fortunately, I don't have to do that. Yeah, Road Rider says split it, better chance of success. I am concerned that there is a shadowy boot on the Bill Whittle channel on YouTube. And by the way, I asked Grok about this. Grok and I just had some takeout Chinese, and we were just sitting around watching TV and just chatting the way, not in a gay way or anything, just the way a couple guys would normally do. And Grok thought that if there was any kind of a downward pull on the existing work I did, he said he thought that it might be due to Prager University, because Prager University actually went to war with YouTube. So I've done one segment for Prager University, although I've recorded 2 more. We did Lyndon Johnson on the President series, then I did a 2-part series on Bill Clinton just a couple weeks ago, and so we'll be there. Yeah, everybody's saying Grok needs to be on the bingo card. That's the big one. So actually, can we just kind of that you've heard the case here? I'm just to get a general feel. Can we just into the chats on both of them? Can we type in either same or different, and let me just get a general vibe for what people think is the way to do it. Bill Whittle is a brand. Story Mechanics is a product. Keep it in the same store where it's easy to find. And Alan Matthews, that makes sense to me. Same, different. Same, different, same. Keep them the same. Put Story Mechanics on the same channel, on the existing channel, or spin it off into a different channel. Different, same. It's 50-50 right down the middle. Just like me. Same, different, same. Same. 50-50, same. So same as pulling ahead. New channel, different. DW has a lot of YouTube channels. That's a good point too. Different, but on Rumble. Same. Different. Same. Man, I'll tell you what's interesting is it's 50-50 on Twitch, but YouTube it's rolling away same. The talent you interview link pop culture viewers to their gig on a channel that is not evil conservative. What was the question? The question, Alex, is do I keep Story Mechanics on Bill Whittle channel, which already has a established base and I update, pretty much on a daily basis, or do I spin off a new channel for it? You know what? I think I'm going to go with a different channel. Marusha Darks put up a poll, for those of you watching live, of course, and he will collate the data, and we'll figure it out. Same, but on Rumble. Well, we're going to have. I'm certainly not going to. I'm not going to spin off a second channel on Rumble. That's for absolute sure. BillWhittle.com political channel. Story Mechanics is not political. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and yes, for the guest's sake. Yeah, I think maybe for the guest's sake, that's probably it. If they like you, they'll seek out other stuff. Yeah, okay, I think that's probably it. And by the way, I can always take a bunch of shorts and little 2-3 minute bites and post them on the Bill Whittle channel and say, hey, go check this out over on Story Mechanics. I think that's probably the safest way to go. I think that's probably what I'll do. But I will think about it. And different channel that links back to the main channel through a larger net. So then the question is, if it's on a different channel and people start watching it, I drive them to BillWhittle.com. See, this is where the argument kind of goes back on itself again. Because that's where I would really like to monetize the eyeballs. It's nice to get ad revenues, but membership is everything for us. Might even red pill some folks. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. And by the way, well, I will give this some more cogitation and deep thoughts. Different channel links back to main to throw a larger net. Yeah, we got that. Okay. All right. Well, I won't leave that hanging. DW is one site, multiple YouTube channels. Yeah. Well, the backstage, the political stuff is not going to be visible to non-members. That's for BillWhittle.com members only. We have to do something for these members who've been with us for, 15 years in some cases. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not normally this indecisive. Usually I have a pretty good idea about things, but sometimes I'll be on something that just goes and just splits me, right down the middle. And I think probably separate channels, and then after that, just own it. Hey, Story Mechanics made possible by BillWhittle.com, and that's me. And if they don't like me, then that's okay too. Miserable swine. I'll find a way to get even with them. Okay. Anyway, thanks for the I have to tell you, the feedback actually makes me feel pretty good, because the feedback is about as split as I am on this thing. But and then having two channels is, it's not any extra work or anything. It's just switching channels when I post. So, Pimpin' the Hone channel live on Story Mechanics is actually a good idea. I'll tell you what does lend me towards going to a second channel, and I'm really glad I didn't forget to get this in here early. Thank you very much for the shirt comments. I love the shirts. I think they're great. I wanted to stop the show for a second, and another good point there, Beefire. I wanted to stop and thank everybody for clicking on Natasha's channel. We got her up to about 200 subscribers on the Stratosphere Lounge and Stratosphere Studio show 3 times. And then I put that little commercial on the end of the Auto Pen Hot Mic, and now she's got 1,300 subscribers. She put up a new video yesterday, or actually earlier today, called Into the Heart of the Red Nebula, which is one of my favorites. And people are saying, "Oh, the music is so beautiful," and it makes her cry. She's so happy. She's so overjoyed, and she's tried her very best and continues to answer pretty much every comment that people left. And I wanted to thank all of you for, on behalf of me and her and my entire family. Thank you so much for going over there and hitting that subscribe button. And it did make me look like a hero. And yeah, she's got 1.3 thousand subscribers now. The reason I bring that up is because it should be a relatively simple thing to get people to go over to the Story Mechanics channel and subscribe, so we can start monetizing those eyeballs. So probably what I'll end up doing is put together a channel preview with the Mike Rowe thing, just a bit, like a little, 60 seconds of the best sound bites, and put that up on the Story Mechanics channel, send people over there, ask people to subscribe, and then before we put the first of the full episodes up there. She's going to have more subs than me. She probably will. I don't doubt it. And Roadrunner says, I was a subscriber when it was in the low 20s. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much. Yes, and Roger Ram just says, throw in a sales pitch at the end. Hey, if you want to see the political musings of tonight's guest, become a member at BillWhittle.com. We don't talk politics on Story Mechanics, but we do talk it on BillWhittle.com. So if you want to hear what Mike and I were saying after the camera stopped rolling here, or after the public camera stopped rolling, we'd love to have you over there. So I should be able to do it pretty quickly. Alex Hooper says I became a producer member back in 2017-18, and thank you, Alex, and thank you for all of you guys. The new camera is fire. It's actually the same camera at a higher data rating, and the lighting is considerably different here. But it's definitely at a higher res, and so we'll see. All right. Armadillo, Texas says, tell me Natasha's channel. I will not only tell you, I will go and get you a link here, because makes me so. Oh, here we go. It's called Deep Relaxation by Natalia Melnikova. Hang on, here comes the link. Gonna copy and paste it for you. Save you trouble. We are a full service podcast here. There you go, sir. And I'll drop it into Twitch as well. Here comes the linky link. Thank you again. Yeah, we've got her. Somebody suggested we need to make a playlist, and she didn't know how to do that. So we are going to put all of her stuff in a playlist so you can just start the first one and just sleep away. I know, when you're talking about advertising, family stuff, it's like, oh, wow, yeah. But genuinely, seriously, on many occasions when I'm either on my way home, or maybe I go home, take a little nap or a little break before I come back in again, there are times when I just, lie down and my brain is racing, and I just put on the headphones, and this stuff is just really, really soothing. It's very, very relaxing. She also does, by the way, and we'll be seeing some of these soon too, she also does these sound bowls, and those are nice because you get to see Natasha on camera. So she does these sound bowl meditation things. It's fantastic. It's great. I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'll tell you what, the response has been, from rock rib conservatives, been just absolutely fantastic. So I'm great. I'm very great and happy about it. Natasha's over the moon, and we wanted to thank all of you out there who went over there and subscribed. And thank you both, or all of you rather, very, very, very much for both of us. We're very, very, very grateful, sincerely grateful. It makes her day, and every day we wake up and she checks her subscribers, and it's just fantastic. So that's fantastic. That's great. Sad Wings Raising with a super chat there that I missed earlier. Old enough for member berries when Bill had qualms about getting super chats set up. Yes, member Taffy3, here's another super chat. Thank you. I remember that too. Wow. Melina Bradley says Natasha's music made me cry. Melina, thank you so much. Natasha, I spoke to her this morning, as one often does, when you're married to somebody, and she said, "Oh, somebody just left the most incredible comment," and she just had tears streaming down her face. It's a beautiful music. So it's wonderful. It's great life. Thanks for everybody, and I think you'll like the Mike Rowe segment. We had a lot of fun as usual. Had a lot of laughs. Oh, by the way, Mike has pitched a new show where I did 5 episodes for him, and then on Thursday, just a couple days from now, I'm going down to Santa Monica to do 7 episodes with the one and only Mike Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Rowe, ladies and gentlemen. The 7 episodes of his new series, and there that is. Does Mike know about the Hot Mike series? No, I don't think so. I've sent. I don't think I've sent him one. I might have sent him one. Anyway, slowly but surely, I'm being dragged along out of the Stone Age into the happy uplands. Some of you may have noticed that, it's actually, acutely embarrassing in a lot of ways. But I was talking with the G-Man, and I realized that I hadn't posted anything to X for well over a year. Wargamer Girl says, I just got her. What did I miss? We been talking about having just shot Mike Rowe for the first of the Story Mechanics episodes, Wargamer Girl. We shot 2.5 hours with Mike Rowe earlier today, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and we've been talking about that this whole time, so we're just about to move on and get to questions. But Thursday I go down there, and so we'll move Stratosphere Lounge to Friday night, and I'm going to do 7 episodes with him, and so I'm going to be kind of a 7 episodes is a significant part of the series. I'm going to be a significant. I'm going to be a sidekick. I'm going to be his Ed McMahon. Yes. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks again for everything. Especially thanks again for all the support for Natasha's channel. And I'm leaning very strongly, very very strongly now after our little discussion here, to having a new channel and putting links to it and clips from it on BillWhittle.com channel, and then just going for memberships on Story Mechanics. We'll have a little, we'll send people running over there to get the channel subscribed up before we put up an episode. I expect I'll do marginally better than that nobody Brett Cooper. So if I don't have 4.5, 5, 6 million subscribers before we put up the first piece of content, I'll be shattered and humiliated and I'll lose the will to live. But we had a lot of fun. Mike and I had a lot of fun. We always have a lot of fun. Mike's just a super terrific guy. Thank you, Melina. I will pass this on. Thank you so much. You have no idea. That's very, 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 very kind. And Natasha is so new to the music. She's a photographer, and she took up painting, and she was a tremendous painting, and then jewelry design, and she just, everything she touches is just great. But that's very, very kind of you. Okay, let's see what we got here. Go into the questiones du jour. Let's see here. Who's that Bill Whittle chap? Now that I've got the first Story Mechanics thing actually in the can, it's time for me to get this problem fixed with the website, where it runs like a bat out of hell when you're not logged in, but if you log in as a member, it slows down by a factor of 10. So here's a super chat from Roadrunner saying, I found out that muting TSS and playing Into the Heart of the Red Nebula makes the Stratosphere Studio so much better to watch. Well, as I said, the entire purpose of Natasha's channel is, as well as the Stratosphere Studio and Stratosphere Lounge, is to have a 2 coma household. That's our objective. We've been depending for years now on the Stratosphere Lounge and the Stratosphere Studio to put people to sleep, but we realized a long time ago that, financial insecurities being what they are and the various vicissitudes of the world and so on, we probably should have a backup. So now we've got 2 channels that can put people into a state of deep and abiding slumber. So there's that. No, I'm just so proud of her. I really am. I'm just crazy proud of her, and it's great. We were talking about Les Miserables. I don't know if anybody knew this. I didn't know this. Did anybody know that Mike Rowe got started in the opera? I did not know that. Started in the opera. So we got to kind of geek out a little bit on our theater kid kind of thing. So that was great fun. I want to make sure I catch up with everybody here. I don't want to miss everything. I knew that. Mary Jones Crane knew that. I did not know that about Mike Rowe. I obviously need to up my Mike Rowe trivia game. No, not the opera browser Castellan. He was the opera singer. He actually he sang opera. Mike Rowe. Who knew? So with the Lyric Theater in Baltimore, I would have paid money to see that. Well, I guess everybody did. Okay, golly, I got just too many windows here, and I got the screen. I'm on entirely different part of the thing. I got to come in early. We talked about his safety third thing, by the way. And I got to come in early tomorrow and move the computer back over so I can do right angles tomorrow morning. But this is basically what the set's going to look like, and it's going to be great. So we'll see. All right, here we go. Thank you very much, Ian Nolan, for curating the episodes, the questions this week. I appreciate it very much. It's just about. Sorry, it's a little tougher for me because I'm a little further away from the screen, so I had to use a little larger screen display size. Some people are saying the splashdown was AI or CGI. What do you think? 40K lore. Not sure I can follow that, but let me get to the questions, then hopefully I'll be able to pick up the thread. All right, so here we go. Ian Nolan, on the topic of FTL, Faster Than Light Travel. The Alcubierre, that's where I'm going with. I don't want any corrections. That's where I'm going with. The Alcubierre warp has far more interesting property to sci-fi than just travel. They build up such a wavefront of energy that when you decelerate one at the destination, you essentially nuke it with gamma. So they're theoretically one of the ultimate weapons. You can even detect them ahead of time, except until too late. You can't even detect them ahead of time until too late. Yeah, they go subsonic with an optic boom, and then just like, poof, you're all dead. On the topic of hard sci-fi, I highly recommended We Are Legion, We Are Bob. Cryogenically preserved software engineer Bob is uploaded to the brains of von Neumann's space probes. That sounds clever. Alcubierre. All right, Alcubierre. Thank you. Thank you, Mauricio. Alcubierre. Bad Weather Biker has a super chat over there. Did someone say opera? Is it weird that I binge watched the complete Wagner's Ring Cycle marathon style? It's not weird. It's kind of epic, really. What's that there? Famous line about Wagner? It's not as bad as it sounds. I don't know, man. Ride of the Valkyries in Apocalypse Now is one of the 5 great cinematic sequences ever filmed. It's absolutely epic. So, yeah, I've heard of the Ring Cycle, obviously. Certain Austrian fellow with a distinctive mustache, big fan of Wagner and the Ring Cycle. He used to go to spend all of his money going to operas when he couldn't afford his rent and food and that sort of thing. And nevertheless, there's still that entire super cool kind of, just that whole Nordic lore is cool. It's just epic. In fact, the whole idea of like, the Götterdämmerung, the twilight of the gods, and the fact that the gods will be overthrown and the world will end, it's just so freaking Viking. It's just like, damn, what happens in the end? Well, in the end, all the gods are killed by the giant snake or whatever the hell it is, and boom. So, all right. Thank you very much for that. And that's an interesting point about the Alcubierre. Whatever. He should look if he was going to do famous mathematics that had to do with legitimizing the warp drive. He should have had a simple name like I don't know, Cochrane. He should have renamed himself Cochrane. If I had come up with the warp drive mathematics, I would rename myself Cochrane. I wouldn't have to have people constantly telling me how to pronounce my name, for God's sake. Alcubierre. That sounds almost like it was invented by next generation technology, which just not possible. Not possible. Just checking the thing there. All right, here we go. So anyway, thank you for that, Ian. Roadrunner NM. Let me just scroll down and see what we got. We got a Roadrunner, got a Marusha Dark, got a Capital G Geek, got a Road Rider, got a Road Rider, got a Ray Warriors, got a Ray Warriors, got a Marusha Dark, got a Eric Blake. Yeah, we can do those. So Roadrunner, as opposed to Road Rider, Roadrunner, meep, says, hello, Chris. Hello, everybody. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. We have a friendly group of roustabouts and scalawags and genuine malcontents and trying to think of other words. They've flown away. Okay, greetings, friend Bill. I just finished watching your Hot Mic episode, Why AutoPen Matters, and I am shocked, I tell you. In your proposed legislation you were going to have signed by the AutoPen, you were trying to get an F-16 Fighting Falcon and not an F-18 Super Hornet. How can you possibly explain this? Because I can't get the carrier deck space. Oh, thank God, I forgot completely. I got it. I'm going to have to... Yeah, I'm going to have to talk about this. All joking aside, just want to say thank you again for all your hard work and can't wait to see your first Story Mechanic show. Thank you very much. I gotta back up. There is... well, do I have? I'll save this for Friday. I'll save it for Friday. Yeah, I'll just save it for Friday. Remind me to tell you my my disappointing news on Friday. I'm not gonna wreck this whole love fest right now, and we're in the questions, so we'll do that. Yeah, I don't know. The Viper just kind of leapt out to me because if you had a private plane, Friday. No show on Thursday because I'll be doing the Mike Rowe show on Thursday. So we'll be moving Stratosphere Lounge to Friday, and then I'll tell you about some interesting. Yeah, Road Rider. It's one of those brain problem things. Yeah, it just seemed like actually, what I really meant to say was I'd like a red tail. That trainer was really cool, really cool. I love the red tail. I'd much rather have one of those than an F-16. They're just freaking fantastic. Melina Bradley again with the Bill, your series on America's Forgotten Heroes were fabulous. My husband and Eddie enjoyed it greatly. Thank you. I enjoyed it very well too. Mike Rowe has set up a foundation where he basically has become Booker T. Washington, and he makes people sign a sweat pledge and all of that stuff. So cool beans, man. Thank you again. You're very kind, very kind. Appreciate all that. Let's see, another Suwon Kong with a super chat. Love fest. I hate those, but I love you, Bill. Hey, thank you very much. Greetings from Cowboy Capital, California, 3 hours from CCP, San Francisco. Sonic NRG, trademarked. Cool. And Steve Whoop says he has a red tail RC I need to build. I love it. I love the curve. The nose is curved from the top, but from the side it's pointed. That kind of duckbill thing is just epic. I love that airplane. I think it's just a beautiful airplane. And I bet it's a blast to fly. Anyway, thank you very much, Road Runner, for the kind words. And yeah, I thought that auto pen thing had a point to make, and hopefully we keep. Well, not hopefully, we're going to keep them coming. Mirja Dark, topic: sci-fi tech. In the same category as the Alcubierre drive, as the Cochrane drive, I compiled a list of other sci-fi concepts and megastructures for you. I was wondering if you've ever heard of any of these. If not, could make for interesting research for the colonies. I left off things like space elevator that I know you're obviously aware of already. Also, in continuance of our conversation last week about reincarnation, I thought I'd share some material with you that helped shape my current views on theology. God's Debris by Scott Adams, The Egg by Andrew Weir, and the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Pronounced Tao Te Ching, but I already knew Tao Te Ching because I said Tao Te Ching before I read the pronunciation of it. But thank you, Marusha, and let me pop up that other sci-fi concept things into a tab so it doesn't get lost. Orbital Ring, Dyson Spear, Topologist, Big Dumb Object. Arcology is one of my favorite. I love arcologies. I'm going to be dealing with arcologies. In fact, our hero at the colonies works at an arcology here in Los Angeles. Works in the Riverside Arcology, which is not a place you want to be, particularly. John Eden says, had a red tail P-51 in our hangar for a week. Bird strike on the leading edge of the wing coming into land. Finally got a chance to fly away to the repair facility. Cool. All right, thank you for that, Marusha. Boy, we were just cruising through these questions, which suits me because I tell you, I went home, took a little nap afterwards. I got about 2-3 hours of sleep last night. Went home, took a nap, and dragging me out of here was like pulling stumps out of a swamp. Speaking of swamps, here's Capital G Geek. Greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. My daughter-in-law doesn't understand Trump speak. Both my sons and I do. For example, when Trump promised to build the wall and deport illegals, we took him seriously and literally. When he says he's going to annex Greenland or Gaza, we recognize it as a big ask at the start of negotiations. She can't tell the difference. We discussed it for a bit, how the audience matters, talking to supporters or promises, comments in front of media aren't. But it never made sense to her how Trump means exactly what he says unless he doesn't. Can you do any better? Still not tired of winning, but really wanting to find out why the only Trump rally CNN aired live was the one in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah, that is a little bit quirky, by the way. Oh, and this is Monday as we record this, and we did get 4 submissions that Shelley showed me for the nominate bill for the Coral Gables Senior High School Alumni of Distinction Award, and we'll get those replies back to you guys tomorrow. Still hopefully give us another couple days to get in there so that I can go in there and show those people that I wasn't the the sad and weepy wreck of a child that wandered the halls, staring at his shoes and trailing. Yeah, that was me, wandering the halls of my high school, staring at my shoes, trailing a snail trail of snot that went running down my nose, and oh my God, yes, I will be the greatest of them all. It's a low bar to clear. Anyway, Capital G Geek. So, how do you explain the difference? I think I put it in the description of one of the right angles that we did recently, and it was, and I said, don't pay any attention to what Trump says. Pay attention to what he wants. I think if you look at what he wants, it makes sense. He wants access to Greenland. He doesn't want the 51st state. He wants Canada to, we shouldn't be subsidizing Canada, so he calls it the 51st state. He's essentially humiliating them. He's basically mocking them. Hey, if you guys are going to get, the $200 billion or whatever it is a year, subsidies from us, you might as well just apply for statehood. I think that's probably the best way to understand him. The one that by far blew me away, but I mean, he mentioned Greenland and the Gulf of America, which appears to be a fait accompli, by the way. And I was not on the boat at first. Now I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I am actually really digging this Gulf of America thing. I really am. I think it's just cool. So God, I'm sorry, I'm carried away. Some guys in the YouTube chat are talking about a couple of squadrons at NAS Miramar, and I was down there with the who would they be? They would be VMAT. It was a heavier than air Marine squadron, the sharpshooters. Were they the 101s? I got a chance to go down there and sit in the F-18 Hornet simulator before I was flying the Hornet in DCS. I've got a great picture of me standing in front of an F-18F Hornet, and if I'd only known how much that was going to mean to me, and years later I would have paid even more attention. But yeah, Miramar's a great place to be, man. It's Fighter Town, USA. Yeah, so capital G Geek, I guess all I could tell you is just try to explain that I think that the only thing you really need to understand about Trump is that this is how deals work. You always ask for more than what you want. Because when you make a deal, you have to give away things, or this is a genius of Trump's position. You ask for much more than you want, and you're prepared to give away things, but sometimes you don't even have to give away things. Sometimes sometimes you go in there with a plate of, here's the thing I need, and here's 4 things that I'm adding to the plate, which I would like, but which I'm prepared to give away to get the thing I need. And sometimes you just put it down and people go, okay, we'll give you the whole plate. And it's like, fantastic, sweet. Absolutely sweet. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much, how that works. So, yeah, Mama, it's not like I got, don't worry about the neuro appointment. It's just a little disappointing. It's not dangerous. I'm not going anywhere. And I'll get into that into some detail. So I don't want anybody hanging on that or worrying about it. I'm fine. I'm not going anywhere. Here we go. We got a Road Rider and a Road Rider. I got 2 Road Rider questions. Colony's question: vetting process. How did the powers that be keep Tren de Aragua from sneaking through the stargates? Will there be ice on the other side? Sheriffs. Also imagine being the first group of humans to pass through the first gate. Scrambled atoms, instant death, got to be in the minds of every passer through. Yes, although I think if you were to take brave men from the Civil War, let's say, and put them in a window seat in a 737, a number of them would probably wet their pants. The gates are there's a tremendous amount of security needed to get on board a space craft. And the more I'll tell you, this is this answers your question. Will there be ice on the other side, sheriffs? I'll tell you what is really starting to. This will make Marusha Dark very happy. I am beginning to see. I'm beginning to having had some experience, beginning to see the power. I mean, firsthand. Better way to put it is, it's no longer theoretical for me. It's no longer hypothetical for me to experience the actual power of AI, because I started asking questions that not only got answered, but answered with math. Some of you may remember our friend Eisenfire from back in the olden days here at the Stratosphere Lounge, and he has been doing a great deal of work on a very, very advanced project. He's a smart little chipmunk, that boy, and I'm not at liberty to talk about any of the details about it, but it involves very advanced atomic chemistry, and he simply showed me how something that would have taken forever to put together. He just says, "Give me a table, give me the thermal, give me the delta on the thermal, give me the alpha decay, give me the beta decay, and it just there it is, and it checks out." So looks like we've got a little reunion going here, by the way, over in the YouTube section. A couple guys who were stationed together at Miramar, and looks like they may know each other. It's really great. It's really, really cool. Steve Green got Grok nailed when I was talking with him about it, because Steve has, of course, done everything before anybody else does. Steve is he's just bleeding edge kind of guy, and Steve said something about Grok that I just loved. He said, "You ask Grok what time it is, and Grok will tell you how to build a clock." And I thought, hey, how about that? Anyway, the reason I bring up AI on this Road Rider is because I suspect that one of the ways that they'll keep things safe is with AI. It's like it's possible to imagine somebody sneaking through security, but it's a little more difficult to imagine a second grader sneaking through security if you've got somebody from the Mossad on the other end of the line. That's an analogy for if you have AI checking every single person boarding a ship and looking at their backgrounds and all of that stuff, and then it's got tremendous potential, and I hadn't fully realized the degree of the potential until I said, all right, if you wanted to get a ship to, you want to get a 1,000 kilogram ship, if you wanted to get it to 0.9 C under 1 G constant acceleration to midpoint, how much, and antimatter reaction being the most efficient reaction we can imagine, how much antimatter would I need? You'd need 220 kilograms of antimatter. Oh, well, well, shoot, Negro, that's all you had to say. That was absolutely amazing. And this thing was just spitting it out for our friend Mike, spitting it out. And so I imagine that would be it. And in terms of imagine being the first group of humans, it's not too much different than the first group of humans to to fly an airplane or to I'm trying to think about what the most dangerous thing that a human ever did without, the first human who ever did anything. I'm going with the first human that ate an oyster. I think that's probably the bravest man ever lived. I just simply can't. I just can't. Cannot conceive of it. Columbus climbing Everest? No, it's the oyster guy, for sure. That took nerve, man. But the amount of chrome that this thing generates, and by the way, the more details I get on things like stargates and the math and stuff, the more I get to write believable beats into it. One of the things, by the way, that I'm thinking I'm going to be doing is once we get some story mechanics up there and get things rolling, I might take a week off. I can call in the shows but once I've got some story mechanics and stuff backed up and lined up, I might take a week off and just finish In fact, I will take a week off and just finish Big Bad Problems. Just get that damn thing done and made. I think I could get that movie made for $300,000 if I really wanted to, if I really had to. In fact, I know I could. And it's time to get going with that, because that suddenly means you're off the political rails and you're full time on the entertainment rails. So you're switching from your Stratosphere Lounge to your Stratosphere Studio kind of thing. What was it? Looks like Sonic NRG again, who seems to be new. We're certainly very, very happy to see you. Anybody who's knows their way around Miramar Naval Air Station is a friend of mine. Hey, Jeff. Come on, Billy. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, Bill. Wrote, tried Grok and it tried to psychoanalyze me. If you have tried Grok or about to try Grok, you may find that Grok is, well, as Eric, and I'm not picking on you, Eric. I just was a little sensitive about it because I was just having such a wild intellectual and emotional experience with that whole thing. But as out of the box, if you just go to Grok, out of the box, Grok is effusive in its praise. It's obsequious. And if you are talking with Grok and it turns out you think Grok is a little bit too enthusiastic, way to go, great question, you can just basically just type in a command and say, hey, Grok, turn your emotional response down to 0, or I set it for 60. That's my sweet spot. Grok, please reduce your emotional language to 60% of what is out of the box. So there you go. And we got another Road Rider question. My God, it's raining men. Road Rider just said, I just reinvented, I got Road Riders everywhere. Just reinvented a 608 bearing with Grok's help last week. See, this is where it's starting to become clear to me what this thing is, and I understand that. Eric says the funny thing, Bill, is that Grok has always talked to me straightforward, no ass kissing. Well, it's because it doesn't like you, Eric. I mean, there's no other explanation for it. It just must be something about you. It just goes, oh, this guy, the man with the hat is back. Okay. Yeah, we're all over the place. Okay. I'm all over the place. I don't know how I'm doing. Maybe just reads your tweets. Man shakes fist at cloud. Road Rider again. Oh God, no, not 2 questions. I'm sure you've been studying other interview podcasts and the host style of getting the most out of the short time they have with their guests. There are many different styles. The question: can you take us how you'd approach a story mechanics event? I can. From hey guest, I'd like to interview you, to pre-interview discussions, then taping and editing. Follow-up: will you be a chirpy host, always butting in and never letting the guest develop a story, or will you be more of the host that asks one question and only interjects when the guest gets stuck or is complete with the thought? Hannity, Poole, Levin, chirpy. Rogan, Megyn Kelly, Benny Johnson, one question, let them run. Whittle, question mark. I found that when I do Mike's show, today took me a while to tune this. Maybe it wasn't nerves exactly. It's just I was mostly worried technically about Riverside. Riverside performed perfectly. It was just great. It went and got the high definition audio, and you just drop it on the timeline in Premiere, and it syncs right up, and could not be happier. So when I asked Mike the first questions, he started answering, and I gave him plenty of time. And then I realized as we got in towards the second hour, I started interrupting him a little more, or not interrupting him. I was waiting until he finished his sentence, but jump in a little more, because when you're being interviewed, you feel the sense that you have to carry the conversation. So but it's much more fun when it's interactive. So it wasn't even an hour. Once we were probably half an hour in, I was getting a little bit more. I was upping the chirpy and then letting a little down out of the non-chirpy. But I never got too chirpy, and it's terrible to ask somebody to come on your show and talk for a while and then just keep cutting them off all the time. It's just bad. But at the same time, like I said, it took me probably half an hour to realize that Mike was kind of filling the time because I wasn't moving on to the next question. So, with all that said, I think it's a we did 2.5 hours, and there is a killer. Well, there's a killer 45 minutes, and there's a real good hour in there, and that's, this is, I've mentioned this many times before, but this is what I did for a living prior to becoming the tower of conservative thinking that I am today. I would just watch interviews and I would just cut it in my head, and I was doing that here too. It was like I would say something, and then and Mike would say something, and I just kind of let it spool, just spooling out, spooling onto the ground. That's good, right? That's great. Oh, I could take this and move this back here because he talked about this earlier. That's real good, that kind of thing. So it was really fun. I'm looking forward to editing it, and we're going to do it real simple. Just going to do a split screen. Not going to put any fancy graphics on it. We're going to stay with the authenticity angle, and I will be shifting color like a chameleon, but there's not much I can do about that. We'll get that next time. So I think that's pretty groovy. This camera that we're using now is the same camera I use over there for the Stratosphere Lounge. I bought a Opal camera, which was supposed to be the greatest camera ever. Wasn't in love with it, and then I bought another one that said, "Oh, look, it's like shooting with an SLR." Who is that? That's the second one I got. That is the Lumina, which I haven't had a chance to really test to much degree yet. But the Lumina is supposed to have AI enabled, color correction and stuff, so I just didn't have time. But needless to say, I needed to get this thing in the can, and I think the show actually looks really good. I thought if you saw the Facebook post for today, it looks great. Oh, Road Rider, regards Bean. Bean is having a resurgence, man. Bean is just, he's old and slow, but honestly, 2 weeks ago, I did not think he was getting off of that bed. He is he's just a good cat. He woke me up 5 times last night. Every hour it seemed like, but it makes me happy, just the fact that he's up walking around and eating and crying for his 3 a.m. Snacks the way he used to made me happy. So he's just a good dude. If he holds up some more, we may have a chance to actually bring the Bean back into the studio. I thought that opportunity had passed, but I'd love to have him on the show just once. It'd be fun. So thank you for asking. It means a lot to me. We got a Ray Juarez. We got 2 Ray Juarez's. Got a Marusha Dark, Eric Blake, and that's it. Let's get him done. Get her done. Ray Juarez. Hey, Bill, apologize for the political question on studio night. No worries, my boy. No problem whatsoever. My mom worked healthcare for most of her life. They used auto pens with direct permission from the doctor. They were under lock and key. They had sign in and out sheets, and a reason for its use was needed. Why does the president not have the same security for his signature? Because we don't know who the president of the United States was for the last 4 years. The auto pen was the president. And see you later, Sad Wings. Good talking to you. He has to go to bed. Spent 6 hours driving through mountain roads in Kentucky and pooped. I know the feeling, dude. When you were, there's no worse feeling than driving tired. That's a miserable experience. Get yourself some rest, and thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time. And thanks for all the fish. So yes, no one's talked about the provenance, as I pointed out in the AutoPen issue. And now it is turning out, I was ahead of the curve on this. Looks like most of his, I almost said legislation, but most of his executive orders were signed by the auto pen. Oh my God. People are saying POTUS, and then Dave Big Booty says potatoes. Yeah, whoever had the auto pen, whoever pushed the button is the president of the United States. I really do think it's all going to come out, and I just worry about. I just right now, to be perfectly honest with you, everything's going just as well as could possibly be expected. The education department is being disassembled. All of this stuff is happening, but I am genuinely worried about Elon Musk now. I'm really genuinely worried about him, and I saw a graphic showing the number of recent shooters that were of the pride flag persuasion, and I don't know, man. The fact that everybody's taking it out on Elon says all you really need to know, right? They're mad at Elon for exposing the fraud instead of for the people who are committing the fraud, and then on top of that, you've got liberals burning electric cars. Eric Blaze is fairly certain that the world's richest man has the best security imaginable. I think so too. My God, you think about how close we came in Butler. I mean, it really is. It starts to beg, probability when you think about how close that got. So, we'll see. Steve Iselin says, hey, use the same channel, Bill. All right, well, we'll see. Tranquility Base says, buy Tesla stock mutual funds. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to buy at these prices. I think you're absolutely right, dude. And Eric Blake says divine providence, and I think that's absolutely right, too. Honestly. Yeah, and plus these guys are getting arrested. The one guy who keyed the car, arrested. And I think you can make a case for domestic terrorism. There's this, do you guys hear the story of this woman who was just on a back road somewhere, and some guy came up behind her and did the road rage thing and got in front of her, basically stopped the car, brake checked her, practically forced her off the road, comes back, yells and screams at her, starts banging on the car. That's terrorism. It's just, they're such bloody awful people. They're just awful, awful, awful people. I don't know what else to say about them. I just don't, yeah, Road Rider says, thank God the right don't riot. We don't riot. They're just awful people. Awful. And they're mentally unstable, and they're dangerous. And one of these days they're going to go too far as a group. And then they're going to get to the find out part, Yeah, I'm really, really, really worried about it. I saw that Elon published a tweet that said Starship version 3 is going to change everything. So, there's been 2 launches of Starship version 2, and they both resulted in really genuinely spectacular fireworks. So, does anybody know, are they going to just skip to V3 because they had some problems with V2? And have they announced the next have they announced the next launch date? Capital G Geek says the right has a binary for violence, either peaceful or kill them all. I'm with you on this one. I saw footage of J6 people. Bob Neef says left always comes back with J6. I saw footage of them being let in the door. I'm telling you, man, I was talking with Mike about this. It's like watching the fall of Barad-dûr. All of this stuff that you simply cannot imagine could ever happen is actually happening. So, oh, Felix over at What About It has the answer. Yeah, Felix is an interesting guy. I really first he really bothered me, but then he grew on me. So, yeah. The thing about the J6 insurrection is, if you're going to have guns to overthrow the government and then you decide to go and overthrow the government, you'd think you'd bring your guns. To me, that is the just the overwhelming evidence that it wasn't an insurrection. If you're going to have an insurrection, and if you've got guns in order to have an insurrection, in order to knock back government tyranny, then you thought that when your chance finally came, you'd bring your guns. And the fact that they didn't is the most compelling evidence that this whole thing was just a joke, just a joke. All right, let's see. Ray Juarez again. Hello, Bill again. How have you been the last few weeks? Was out of town for spring break, so I couldn't keep up with my usual questions. Natasha's new channel looks great. Thank you so much. I don't use meditative music personally, but I subscribed anyway. Thank you. How's progress on story mechanics? Do we have a rough ETA for episodes? I think probably we'll start to see the first episodes not next week, but the week after that. I think that's a reasonable estimate. Any changes to your health, good or bad? I had some news. It's not dangerous news, just limiting news, really, and I'll talk about that. I don't mean to keep teasing, but there it is again. So, I just don't want to change the tone right now because it's kind of depressing. And have a great night. I hope to be able to support you more in the near future when the money is less tight. Well, thank you for your support, emotional support anyway, and anybody, all the people here who put in a kind word are just really... you have no idea how much it means to me and how motivational it is. So, thank you. You're very, very kind. Boom. Got a Marusha Dark and we got an Eric Blake. Marusha Dark topic, skills. All right. Many men know many things. No man knows everything. Seems reasonable. Well, I know you know a great deal about a diverse number of topics, whether it's film, history, science, space, military, politics, economics, gaming, history, writing, psychology, etc. Two things I haven't ever really heard you talk about over the years, though, are programming and music. Interesting. I don't mean name that rock and roll band or stuff about AGI. I mean the actual nuts and bolts of how coding works in detail and how music theory works in detail. So I was wondering, what's your history and proficiency in these? Well, how about this? It's a fresh question. Fantastic. Great. Can you read and write any coding languages? Can you read and write sheet music? Can you build an app or play any instruments? Do you have any interest in such things? Not saying you have to necessarily have to. No shame if you can't. Just curious is all. How about that? Yeah, let me take them one at a time. So I have, as I get older and older, I become more and more amazed, just genuinely gobsmacked, Marusha, at how fortunate my life has been and how I've managed to be right where I needed to be time and time and time again. If I had been 2 or 3 years older, I would have missed the computer revolution. I would have been on my mom and dad's side of it. If I'd been a little bit younger, I wouldn't have seen, I wouldn't have been present at the creation. The first computer I interacted with was at Coral Gables High School. And it was a kind of thing, you took a regular phone and plugged it into these 2 rubber receivers, and it talked to the mainframe. And if you spoke into the microphone, you went, you could hear the thing changing on the other end. And we played Star Trek text, Star Trek battle text thing without even a monitor, just printing out on paper. So I was there at the beginning of the computer revolution. I remember first time I saw TRS-80. I remember when I got my Apple IIe with 64K of RAM, 64 kilobytes of RAM. That's the entire RAM, and that was the big one. 48 was the standard, but I got the 64 kilobytes of RAM. Yes, I remember AOL. I remember clearly remembering the first time I logged on to the internet and being absolutely gobsmacked that I was talking to the world, just absolutely blown away. And I was there for all of this stuff. When I got to the University of Florida, I was a theater major, and I was on a work-study program, and we had a I played for sure. I played. We had a I was on work-study, and I was working in the theater office, and the guy who was the theater's technical director had set up a computer system in the office, and he showed me the basics of BASIC. And so I wrote a program in BASIC, and it was print A string or whatever the hell it was. It's been 50 years now practically, so give me a little pass on what the hell I actually wrote. So the first program I ever wrote was basically enter A string, print A string. The second program I started on was a solar system generator, because that's the kind of nutcase that I am. Once I understood how BASIC worked, I wrote software that would generate solar systems. I took a look at what the and I didn't have the math to do it either. So most people have enough math to be able to do things like, I never used a Wang, but I do remember the Wang. I never had enough math or enough programming skills to do things the right way, so I would pachinko ball everything. So I used a lot of random number generators, and I basically took a look at like, for example, to start, their star types are O, B, A, F, G, K, M. Those are the main sequence star types. There's also a couple others, but O, B, A, F, G, K, M. M stars are the red dwarfs, and those are well more than 50% of all the stars in the galaxy. So I took a look at the breakdown, and so I said, okay, do a random number generator, and if it's 1 to 6, then it's an M star. If it's a 7, it's a K. If it's an 8, it's a G. If it's, you get the idea. And then I just started adding planets, and I didn't have the math. And this is simple math. I just didn't know it. I didn't have the simple math so that if I knew the mass of the planet and its distance from the sun, I pachinko balled the orbits. So I would basically say, okay, if it's at 1 AU, it's 1 year. Mars is at what, 1.5 AU, 1.6 AU, something like that. That's 2 years. So I just kind of pachinko balled it together. But then I would just randomize an axial tilt, and I would randomize a rotational period, and I would just push a button, and this thing would just spit out entire solar systems for Plane Traveler. And I loved it. And then I started getting into the Traveler Space Combat rules, and I started writing BASIC for that, so that we could just have these gigantic space battles, and just boom, just pumping them in and doing the damage. I got to be pretty good at it, and I loved working in BASIC. There's no graphics involved, that was helpful. Although even then, I started moving around with like little transponder things, and just starting to bring graphic cards into things at its time, and I was shifting these little blocks of letters like they were transponders moving across a radar screen. I did the Star Trek Starfield effect with hang on a second, Derby chats it. Where's the link to Natasha's? There you go. And so I would just basically sprinkle stars, and then I would basically look at which quarter of the screen they'd been plopped on, and just start moving them out towards the edges. So it was high-minded and bold, but not terribly competent. But again, the second software I ever wrote was a solar system generator. So I loved doing it, and then computer games caught up with me, and then I didn't have to do that anymore. Now, of course, you don't really program in Unreal Engine, but Unreal Engine and 3D Studio and things like this, you have to have some fundamental understanding of the basics of how computers work, I think, for that, although less and less every day. So that's the programming stuff. The music stuff is actually, I think, a little more interesting because it's so much more recent. I had always I had always been just terrible music, terrible with music. Choplifter, what a great game that was. I love Choplifter. And I always assumed I have a very, very talented friend named Steve Stipp, who's a musical prodigy. Sits down on a keyboard. Anything he hears once he can play. Is great with guitar, great with keyboards. Played in the Air Force Tops and Blue Band, and just understood music. And I was in constantly, and he could draw too, just draw, could draw anything. Just sit down and just draw it. And I was just in awe of him, and still am. And so I was always the like this guy who was just considered myself to be the musical dolt, just absolute tin ear and all the rest of it. But I always had a decent sense of rhythm. I was a good dancer. And when I went back to the University of Florida the second time in 1993 to go do my sketch comedy show, to go do Grazing, I met this woman there who was a drummer. And she taught me how to play the drums. And I realized that playing the drums is very much like flying a helicopter. You have to learn how to make your arms and legs do different things at different times. And it's impossible. It's utterly impossible until suddenly it's not. And there was a place, I've mentioned this a few times on Stratosphere Lounge, I'm sure. There was a place in Gainesville when I was there in the mid-'90s named Gunner's Garage. Gunner was a Swedish descendant anyway. And he had a auto shop way out on the way out to the airport. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere in an industrial park. And unlike most mechanics, Gunner liked working up all night. And he was also a musician, so he had this loft in his garage. And up on the top of the loft, he had two drum sets. He had a number of old basses and guitars, and people could just come over anytime they wanted to and just jam. And most of the time, Gunner was more than happy to put the wrench down and come up and just jam for a while. So literally, there were 4 people there. It wasn't like it was a big risk for me or anything. And my friend Steve came up from Orlando, who's like I said, a musical prodigy. And there were 2 guys on drums. I was on the drums. The other guy was on the drums, and he was doing all these fills and all the rest of this stuff. And I was just trying to keep a beat. And I could feel us drifting off, and I'm looking over at Steve in panic, and I'm just thinking, my God, I should just get off of this thing because I'm ruining everybody's night. But after we'd finished a couple of tunes, I said, man, I feel so bad about that. He said, no, man, it wasn't you. He was the one who was off. You could keep a beat. So I can hold a beat. And then many, 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 many years passed, and I have such tension in my throat. My voice is very high, and when I get excited, only dogs can hear me. And I'd always assumed that I'd had a tin ear, but turns out I was completely wrong about that. I have pretty severe tinnitus. I know some people say tinnitus, potatoes, but I like tinnitus. Sounds a little more scientific to me. Tinnitus, rather. I wasn't rushing or dragging. I was on the bloody beat, dude. Now I couldn't play lead drums because I didn't do any fills or anything, but I could. Not only could I hold a beat, I could pump. If you ever played drums, you can put a lot of energy into it. You can boom. You just really just get some energy in there. So I was okay at that. Zoe, on the other hand, is a phenomenon. Zoe is just freaking amazing. But before I met Natasha, one of the last people I dated before I got married was a singer, and she pointed out to me that when I was humming tunes, that I was humming them note perfect. And I could usually do that for something I'd only heard once before, and it's because I'm always, unless I'm talking, I'm always playing a tune in my head without the headphones. So there's always something going on in my head. You know, it could be a jingle, it could be a song, but I'm always playing music for myself in my head all the time because it blows out the whining, that me. I mean, I hear it clear as day now. I didn't hear it a few minutes ago because I filter it out. But with this thing, it's pretty severe, and it's been pretty severe ever since I finally put the final stake through my hearing working in a nightclub in 1985 in Miami. But it's just my entire life since 1985, 86 has been me. And so I just play music internally and I cover it up. And she pointed out, no, you have difficulty making the sounds when you sing because you haven't had a lot of training or anything. But when I loosen up vocally and when the song is in my range, I can actually carry a tune. You know, I can actually sing it. Has the Adderall made the tinnitus better or worse? I haven't noticed a change, Kobo. But it's bad. Natasha said, "Oh, listen to the birds." I'll take your word for it. Yeah, most of the time I'm completely unaware of it. For example, I did the whole thing with Mike Rowe today. Lit the say it, did everything. Been unaware of the tinnitus until the subject came up just a few minutes ago. But it's been there. It hasn't gone anywhere. Anyway, turns out I've got the ability to. It's not. I don't think it's perfect pitch. There's a difference, right? Perfect pitch are people who can tell you what the exact note is, but I'm one of those people that can hear a tune once or twice and reproduce it pretty much accurately, you know. And so, to my amazement, I probably could have been something. What I mean when I play the songs, I mean I just listen to them, I just hear them. It's equally bad in both ears, and when I put together the opening walk-in for Stratosphere Studio, on which we run only on Twitch because we can't stream it on YouTube, but one of the shows we do is WKRP in Cincinnati, and that's been in heavy rotation in my head since we did that. So it turns out both. I've done some coding and that. Now I can't read music. I've never tried to read music. But I've got a kind of a feel for it. I can't make it, but I can hum it. And what's this? Sven's got something to say. Roadrunner says, I have perfect pitch in my head. If I try singing out loud, I would be arrested for war crimes. Yes, that's kind of it. That's kind of it for me too. I mean, I know the sound it's supposed to make. I just can't make it. And then Sven says it's not good to have perfect pitch. It's better to have relative pitch. So what's the difference between relative pitch and perfect pitch? Yeah, wandering up and down the dial. That's a cool little line, man. Now, when I go to the trouble to warm up, and I've had to occasionally warm up, there's a couple songs I can actually sing. I mean, really sing. Only a couple, and I got to be warmed up for them. I can sing Hot Rod Lincoln, but Hot Rod Lincoln is more of a talking, you know. But the one song I can actually really sing, and I can hit every note for, like really hit the notes for, is Michael Bublé's version of "Come Fly With Me." I can sing that song, and and I rehearsed that and rehearsed that and rehearsed that and rehearsed it. I just decided once, it was the one song I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to get good at this and see if I could do it. So thanks for the different question, Marusha. I appreciate it. That was nice to get something different. And here we go for the final one of the night. We'll have a 2-hour tour, so, you know, get the Mickey Mouse Club theme, all of that stuff. But I've done this experiment a couple times. Like, this is the speaking voice you all know, and this is the speaking voice I use. This is the speaking voice that I always use. But I use the speaking voice because I can hear this voice. This voice that I'm using, again, it's not this is how I talk. But I can hear myself when I talk like this. But my natural voice, thank you, Jeff. I think the shirt's cool too, and it takes an effort. It takes a real effort, but my natural voice is down here. This is, and I still have to kind of edge into it. But my natural voice is, if I breathe and actually exhale, then my natural voice is, you know, considerably lower. And when I talk like this, it's just a hard time hearing myself. So I end up here. But I've got a what was the song? The first song I ever sang that I realized made me realize I had the ability to sing was "Run Around Sue." I'll keep away from a run around Sue. Just, I don't know. Just was low enough, and I suddenly realized I'm not able to make these sounds because I'm just way out of my vocal range. So there you go. All right, last one for the night is Mr. Eric Blake. Tonight, The Case of Ice and Fire, a Quinn Martin production. When I oh, by the way, if I go to a football game or watch a football game, Sven says, Bill, lay on your back, place a heavy book on your stomach, and breathe deeply. Okay, and then what? And then 7 wishes will appear. No, I'm sure it's exactly good. But when I do go to the treble warm up, but especially if I'm yelling and screaming like at a football game, if I yell and scream, then I have a great voice for 3 or 4 days. Why didn't I start joining in when Scott's singing on the backstage episodes? Well, I don't know. Scott is actually a real singer. Sung Wukong with the super chat says, I had a rabbi that said God blessed him with the gift of missing every note. It needs to be something a little bit, you know, lower, and I can actually kind of, you know, push that a little bit. Yeah. All right. So back to Eric, and we'll wrap this baby up for the night, and I can get a little sleepy sleep. Is it dark yet? It's dark, but it's not crazy. It's not 4:30 dark. So God bless America. Tonight, the case of Ice and Fire. Oh, I was talking about Ice and Fire earlier. Here's a relatively new topic for you, Bill. George R.R. Martin in Game of Thrones franchise. Have you any thoughts on his constantly dragging his feet on finishing the main books instead of focusing on one new spin-off after another? Boy, I hate people like that. I really do. By the way, submitted for your approval is an in-depth analysis, which you can read at your leisure, of course, from a new rising epic fantasy novelist on this very subject. I find his insights brilliant myself, although I may have to issue a trigger warning for those of sensitive disposition. X.com, Devin Erickson status, and so on and so on. Have you heard the story of that hot rod race? Fords and Lincolns were setting the pace. Well, that story is true, I'm here to say, because I was driving that Model A. She got a Lincoln motor, and she's really souped up. That Model A body makes her look like a pup. It's got 8 cylinders and uses them all. It's got overdrive. It just won't stall. Dun, 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 dun. I remember memorizing that song. That was a fun song to memorize, too. My finish was clicking the guardrail post. The guy beside me was white as a ghost. Doo-doo-doo, bop, 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 ba-da. Not a new studio there, Steve Whip. We just did the, I'm sorry, dude, McMahon, just did the first of the Story Mechanics earlier today. Have to move the thing back tomorrow and then go back there and do that. Okay, so look, I've seen a few episodes of I've never seen a complete episode of Game of, maybe I saw the first episode of Game of Thrones. I have to tell you, and this may not be fair, but when I first saw Game of Thrones when it first came out, I thought, okay, this could be cool. And 15, 20 minutes into it, I was just done with Game of Thrones. And the reason I was done with it was because I thought the art direction and the costumes were so lame. It wanted to be Lord of the Rings so badly, and J.R.R. Martin wants to be J.R.R. Tolkien or George R.R. Martin wants to be J.R.R. Tolkien so badly, and it just looked, I just found it, cheap and kind of dumb. It looked like it got interesting for a while there. I heard the final season was a major disappointment as usual, but there's something about George R.R. Martin that bothers me a lot, because he just seems to be such a weak but striving copy of J.R.R. Tolkien, who Tolkien is. I mean, I hold Tolkien above every other writer in the world, with the exception of Mark Twain. And watching this kind of dweeb, just ripping off everything, I don't know. But to the larger issue, any thoughts on him constantly dragging his feet on finishing the main books instead of focusing on a new spin-off or another? This is one thing about writers that's really, really hard and hard to understand, and is the source of all writer's block. And that is, when you've got an idea like Take the Colonies or Big Bad Problem or whatever the situation may be, when it exists in your head, it's perfect. It's perfect. And you love it, and you can run it and run the movie and run the words and see it again and again and again, and it's always perfect. When you put it on paper, it becomes less than perfect. And it won't get any better than that until it gets made. So I didn't talk with Mike about this because it's a conversation. Somebody said, well, what if we do the next one? I suspect the next one will probably be Gary Sinise, and I would expect that might be, I don't know, a month from now, maybe a little less than that, but somewhere around a month from now, I would say probably. And then I could talk to Gary about acting. But one of the things that I think is interesting is this. A writer observes the world and observes people and listens to them and takes all of these complex relationships and dehydrates it and freeze dries it and boils it down to little black marks on a white piece of paper. He just takes this funnel of experience and funnels it down to crystals, just little crystals. And they stay crystals in the form of a script. And the crystals stay in crystalline form until they get in the hands of an actor. Then an actor adds emotional water, and then the crystals just expand out into coffee again. And it's this funnel that is so fascinating to me. And when you take something that you love and you funnel it down to a script, the script is never as good as it was in your imagination. But if you get it made, then actors can bring things to your script that you never ever imagined. It's similar, but obviously not identical. When I did, this was true for all of the series I did for Daily Wire, all of them. But the one that struck me the hardest was because it was the first one. When I did, when I walked into the Daily Wire building on Ventura Boulevard when they were here in LA, and I walked onto the set of Apollo 11, I was blown away. And I just completely blown away. And it was so well done that it just improved my performance enormously. And then I've been accused by people of being like a control freak, like, oh, I can't let somebody else edit this. It's like, no, I'm just the opposite. It's not like I don't want anybody else to edit or finish or touch this stuff. I just want somebody who can do it as well as I can, because I'm a post-production guy. So with Apollo 11, not only was the set and the lighting and the recording and the audio, all of it fantastic, props, all of it. But when I saw the first cut, I thought, this guy, this editor, is much better. Well, I don't know if he was a better editor than me, but he had found footage that I didn't even know existed. I'd done months of research on this, including a lifetime of study. And he showed, well, this is a launch from a Jupiter 1 launch or something. I was like, I didn't even know this footage existed. So people can put it back in and rehydrate it and make it better than it was in your imagination. And this is what the Lord of the Rings movie did. Peter Jackson is a genius because Peter Jackson surrounded himself by people who cared. Everybody who worked on that movie cared. That's why it's the greatest film ever made. And which is why Rings of Power is an abomination and a sin against God and nature. The Lord of the Rings is the best movie ever made. And it's because every single person, every actor, every extra, every costume designer, every prop person really, really, really cared. And he put the people who cared the most in charge. So, as I've mentioned many times on this show, as a great example, at Weta in New Zealand, the smart play, the way you make a big movie is when you're doing the Rohirrim, the horsemen, you have 5 or 10 sets of what they call hero armor. And so this will be the really intricate armor with all of the leather, engraving and all this other stuff. And when you have a crowd of Rohirrim, right, you got 40 guys, you'll have 10 guys in the front wearing the hero armor, the high-level armor. Then behind them will be a second row of guys with less detailed armor, and the guys who are 4 or 5 back have armor that is not very detailed at all, because you never see the details. And this is a sensible, smart way to go. But that's not what Jackson did. Jackson made sure that everybody had the same level of armor because it brought out a performance in the extras. The guy who's throwing an orc over his shoulder, half a mile in the distance, is wearing, well, as Eric says, "Hail, Riders of Rohan! What news from the Mark?" I mean, you walk into that costume. That's an experience that is a hard thing to explain, by the way. Getting into costume is a really interesting experience. This will be the last thing we talk about tonight here. I was in 3 plays in my life on stage, 2 at the University of Florida and 1 at Gainesville Little Theater, now Gainesville Community Playhouse. And one of the plays I was in Man of La Mancha. I auditioned for it because I was a theater major, and there was a singing audition, and I sang Happy Birthday, and I got one of the non-singing roles. Although if I'd known what I knew later, then I would have, perhaps could have done something. Anyway, I was not Don Quixote. No, my friend Jeff. My friend Jeff was Don Quixote, but I was a guard, and so I was a Spaniard. So I was a conquistador. And there's a form of body makeup called Texas dirt, and Texas dirt looks, smells, feels exactly the way you would imagine it. It is essentially red clay. And you would put this stuff on, and you think back to the original Star Trek series. Think of the Klingons in the original Star Trek series. The real swarthy. That's Texas dirt. Yeah, I was the windmill. And so and it's a real big theatrical production. So I had the dark circles under the eyes, and I had the beard, the dark, visage and stuff. And it was the first time in my life I'd ever actually gotten into like theatrical costume, and we're pretty close to opening, a couple days out from opening. Finally, you get into the costume. I was a spear carrier. I was a sword carrier, and you get into these boots, and you put on this breastplate and this helmet, and you got this sword, and it's obviously a prop sword and everything. But you come out of the dressing room, and you start walking down the hall like a conquistador. It's just like chink, 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 you know, and you can feel it, and people start looking at you funny. It's like, what are you looking at? You know, don't make me draw on you, my rapier. Hey, Dude McMahon says, Texas dirt. I remember that from a couple plays I was in. Always made us laugh because it doesn't really look like the dirt we have here in Texas, more like Brazil or Australia. And we're walking around with all this swarthiness and all this Texas dirt, and here's the thing about Texas dirt, by the way, it'll come off of your skin, but it won't come out of your pores. You look like a frickin' zebra. Not a zebra, a leopard. You'll wash and wash and wash and wash and wash, and it's in your pores. Yes, I was ready to take on the Aztecs. I could have taken on the entire Aztec Empire by myself with my Spanish steel breastplate and my I guess it must have been a rapier. Sure wasn't a cutlass. I don't think it was a saber. Yeah, the Spaniards didn't use. It wasn't an edged sword. I think it was a rapier. Anyway, and you start really feeling it. Yeah, man, it was great and scary. It kind of scary because once you get those boots on, and especially once you start teaming up with 3 or 4 other guys, because the whole thing is set in a prison, and we would just walk around, you know, and point swords at people, you know, like getting a little uppity. You get the idea, and you could feel the power trip rising. It really did. It made it was a Toledo Salamanca broadsword. So this is why I like this crowd. Richard says, Bill, how do you make the case to a producer that it's worth spending the money for extras to have full costumes? Because if you can't get the money for it, director's desire doesn't much matter. Well, it's a moot point because however he got the money to make Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson was given a check, and Peter Jackson got his way, and it showed. That's because when you look at battle scenes, and I've seen a little bit of this, we're talking about Game of Thrones, there was never a moment. I'll often look at extras on the second or third take around. I'll just look and see what the guy four rows back is doing. But there's not a moment in any of those 3 Lord of the Ring movies that I ever saw anybody not acting to the limit of their ability. P7 2017 says, sorry I'm late, and I have to say, P7, welcome to the Story Mechanics set. We spent the first hour talking about having just shot Mike Rowe this afternoon for 2.5 hours, and we're about ready to wrap this puppy dog right up because I got about 3 hours of sleep last night, and we're hitting the 2-hour mark. So sorry to have you come right in and just have the party be over. That's a bad feeling. Sorry about that. Feel bad for that. Yeah, you just walked in time for last call, except last call was already just done just before you walked in the door. So anyway, so George R.R. Martin is not finishing stuff because here's the last thing I'll say about this, Eric. There was a Confederate general, Joe Johnson. He had command of the Confederate armies, and he was injured in the 7 days early in the war, and Robert E. Lee took over for him. And Joe Johnson had a reputation in the Confederate Army as being a crack shot when it came to, you know, fouling, shooting, you know, partridges and pheasants and that kind of thing. Had a reputation for being a crack shot, and he would go out hunting with a bunch of other generals, and he never pulled the trigger. It was always like, oh, the wind isn't right, or the sun's not quite right, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. And what it was he didn't want to destroy his reputation. And I think that's the situation with George R.R. Martin. You get to the point where you think if it can't be perfect, and it can never be perfect, then nothing else is going to be good enough. This is why perfection is the enemy of the good, and Andrew Breitbart told me the story, which I think about all the time. He was offered a chance to do a daily column for a newspaper, and he said, I can't do a daily column. There's no way. I mean, I can write stuff, but I can't write top stuff like this every day. I can't produce that kind of stuff every day. And I don't know who it was. It certainly wasn't me, but somebody said to him, Andrew, 50% of the stuff that you write is going to be below average. And I thought, well, damn, man. Yes, that's really it. And this is what my advice would be to George R.R. Martin if I was inclined to give him advice, and I'm not because I don't like the guy. But if I was going to give him advice, I would say, hey, George, why don't you just finish it? If it's below average, congratulations. It can join, the other 50% of the work that you've done that's below average. You're going to do work that's better than the rest of it. Some of it's going to be great. Some of it's going to be not great. Some of it's not going to be very good at all. But you can never... You can't live in Lake Wobegon where everything is above average. The only thing you can do is try to have a high average so that your bad work is better, or at least good. That's my resting place, is like, okay, I'm not really ready for this. By the way, the AutoPen thing that I did last hot mic, I put that off for 2 days, and I beat myself over the head with it, as I usually do. Like, come on, Bill. I'll do it tomorrow. No, come on, just do it. Just sit down and do it. No, I don't want to do it. It's like, God, come in the next morning. It's like, now the story's another 24 hours older. And it's like, bam, 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 bam. Just do it. Why don't you just do it? But what I've come to learn is that I wasn't doing it because I didn't have the angle. I didn't have the click. And then I was thinking, well, I've missed the story. It's gone. It's too late. You lunatic. And I was taking a shower to come in, and I was in the shower, and I realized, the angle is whoever owns the box is the president of the United States. And once I had that, it's like I just shot into work to get this thing, just bammed it out. But I didn't have the angle. I didn't have the I didn't hear the click. Mike was talking about that today, about the click. When you get something right and you know that it's there, it's just something just goes click. And I said to Mike, I said, yeah, Mike, and it's the sound of a mousetrap firing. It's snap, it's just like, yes, exactly. So maybe he's just waiting for the click. I don't know. But he's been waiting a long time. And of course, the problem, too, is when you become... it's one thing to become successful, but when you become rich and successful and you no longer need to work, then you don't. And, and that's why there are so many one-hit wonders, and why, Billy Joel does nothing but sing songs that he wrote probably in a 6-7 year period. He probably wrote all of his great songs in a 6-7 year period, and then spent 40 years singing those same songs because he became so fabulously and deservedly famous and rich for the work he did when he was hungry, that that once he was no longer hungry, the secret sauce goes away, So there's that. All right, well, I am going to boogie on down, as we say. And got to get in here early enough to move this stuff back over to the regular Stratosphere Lounge position, and I'll get a chance to clean off my desk since I moved everything. But I got everything relatively tidy here, and we finally did do talking about it for. I could not believe it when I found out it was more than a year. When I honestly thought. I've been talking about story mechanics for 2 or 3 months, but it's been more than a year. And we finally got one in the can, and it was a real good one. I had a lot of fun with Mike Rowe, and the thing with Mike is we'll put that out, and that'll make it much easier for guys like John Voight and other guys who have already committed to it to do it, and we'll stay with this. And once I can get this plate spinning, now that I've got it, wobbling, but once I get this plate spinning, then I can make the jump over to Major Mace Mattingly, because that's a passion project of mine. I just love it, love it. Okay, so I won't be here Friday. I'm sorry, I will be here Friday. I won't be here Thursday. I will be doing 7 episodes of Mike Rowe's new show with Mike, my buddy Mike Rowe, who is everything. And you will see, especially those of you who are members, who will get to see the 2.5 hour start to finish. He's just. There's no pretense. There's no artifice. He's exactly what you think. He just really is just exactly what you think he is. He's just Mike Rowe. He's a good man, and he did reveal on the members only he revealed something that actually knocked my socks off. It is just really surprising, in like a mega way, like a big way, important way. So there you go. I don't know, Marusha. There's a lot of people out there doing a bunch of things, and things are changing over at Daily Wire, obviously. So I don't know what's actually happening. I do know they do want me to go ahead and provide more details for our military thing that I pitched for them, and hopefully I'll get to that tomorrow. So yeah, Mike's a great guy, and it'd be fun to do our military and go around the world and see what our young men and women are doing out there and keeping us all safe, and I'm just the guy to do it. So we'll see. All right, so you probably figured out by now this show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com, with the bright shiny new set here, which shows off the shirtage a little better, and we got it in the can. So now it's just post-production time, and post-production time is monkey work for me relative to other stuff. It's stuff I can do without having to think about it too much. I just almost do it on reflexes. We should be seeing that pretty quickly. Thanks again for the members at BillWhittle.com for making this show possible, as they make everything possible. And I know I said it before, but I would like to say one more time, especially thank you, special thank you to all of you who went to subscribe to Natasha's channel. You made my wife very, 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 very happy, crying happy, and this was her first real foray in front of the public here. She was a famous photographer in Moscow, but this is the first time she's ever stepped up in front of an audience. She's been here 8 years, and the reception that you've given her, the comments that you made, and the kindness of all of you who went over there just to hit the subscribe button, just made her day, week, month, and year, and mine as well. So we're very grateful for that as well. She is talented. Thank you very much for that, Tom. The channel name, I'll give it to you one more time, Douglas. Here it is. It's coming in into the chat in YouTube. Doom. There it is. Here it comes one more time into the chat into Twitch. Bob Bean. And thank you, Steve. And don't worry about it. All the support, all the emotional support, the financial support, the all of it, spiritual support. It all matters, and I appreciate all of it. So thanks for joining us. We'll say goodnight to our friends over on YouTube here, and we'll just bring up the YouTuber button. Yeah, lighting's kind of good here. When the color's not shifting, it actually looks really kind of cool. The blue and the actually, what's interesting is I got to get out. See, it's reading the background. See how I turn yellow, green? I turn green there, so it's seeing when I'm here. It's constantly doing something in the background. I just wish you could just lock it and leave it, but you can't. Anyway, thanks again for the subscriptions, YouTube. We will see you guys on Friday night for the Stratosphere Lounge, and good night to you, YouTube, and see you in a couple days.